Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar session. We're going to be covering the first session of our Boost Your IT with Lean IT webinar series today. It is Improving IT Service Management with Lean IT. Wherever you are around the world, welcome. Now, just an introduction to our organization for those of you who are new to us. Quint Wellington Redwood is a global consulting firm. We're dedicated to the improvement of IT's value to the business. We've been in business ourselves now for coming up on 25 years. We were established in 1992 over in Amsterdam. Today, we're a completely global company. We have 250 consultants operating on just about every single continent in 49 countries. Our core business practices include IT sourcing, architecture, governance, Lean IT, of course, IT service management, and DevOps. We're very proud to say that for the last 3 years running, we've been listed as a top global advisor on IT sourcing and governance by the IAOP in the areas of client satisfaction, delivery of excellence, and innovative programs. And last off, we'd like to be a trendsetter in the areas of IT service management, Lean IT, and DevOps. Now, as I mentioned, this is the first session of our Boost Your IT with Lean IT series. Today, we're going to be covering improving IT service management with Lean IT. But in subsequent weeks, next week at the exact same time, we're going to be covering Lean IT metrics. And the week after that, at the same time, we're going to be covering, sort of the Lean and Six Sigma methodologies, how it's now been adapted for IT, and really how it improves the quality of IT delivery. Now, I'd just like to introduce the series speakers. We have three very knowledgeable individuals speaking during this series. Our first one up this week is Tice Klaus. He's a managing partner with Quint. Very knowledgeable in the areas of Lean IT and ITSM. Thank you, Tice, for joining us today.
All right, thank you, Alex. So good morning, good afternoon for all of you joining this webinar. So to go over the objectives for today's webinar, I'd like to take a quick look at the overall scope of ITSM processes and what to focus on with regards to Lean IT. Second topic is understanding the differences between IT service management and Lean IT. Third, I want to look at the wait time and waste, two key elements of Lean IT, and how those impact IT service management, and processes to focus on if you want to focus on delivering business value. And finally, we want to look into the common pitfalls when you want to move towards a lean organization. Overall, the objective for implementing Lean IT is moving the effort that you spend on keeping the lights on towards the capacity for innovation and supporting the business. So to start with the not so good news, most likely you already invested in IT service management, but at the same time you're not getting exactly, most likely, the results you expected. So I just wanted to go over some of the common themes of what is missing, what could be missing with a more traditional implementation of IT service management. So what we see happening in a lot of projects is that although processes were ramped up, it didn't affect customer satisfaction and an improvement of the customer perception of value. Second topic also is, did the organization actually get the value for money in return for the investment they did in IT service management? Did it give them the savings, the efficiencies they were looking for in their business case for the implementation of IT service management? Did services improve? Did the performance of processes improve in the organization? And finally, a common topic is also, did the implementation of IT service management actually accelerate or help motivate the workforce and drive performance improvement? So those are common topics that we see in projects that trail behind in an implementation of IT service management. So if you want to improve your IT service management, there's basically three options that you have. So you can take the traditional process-focused implementation, what we would consider a compliance-focused ITSM implementation, and this is where you want to seek best practice that is out there, frameworks like ITIL, and you want to bring it to your organization to create a common language and a common way of working across the organization. The second alternative that you have is to do the same, but with a focus on performance and improvement in the ITSM implementation. So here is where you look at the unit of work in processes like, for instance, incident management and change management, and you want to see how you can accelerate and improve the performance of those processes related to those work units. Finally, the third option is Lean IT, and this one is more customer focused, but also it takes a broader perspective because it focuses on the value that you actually create to the customer of IT services, and it goes all the way back to the behavior and attitude in the IT organization to deliver that value to the customer. So overall, these are on a high level the three options that you have to drive ITSM forward across the organization. So of these three, what is Lean IT and what does it do? If we take a quick look at the generic Lean that is out there, it starts with the customer value as a starting point. So and from that customer value, it goes back and creates the value stream of all the activities that actually create that value to the end user. Once you have those value streams mapped out, you want to create flow in those value streams. And then the next step is that you say, okay, the only one that can kick off and trigger activities in the value stream is actually the customer. They, at the end of the day, are pivotal in the entire approach. So they are the ones that trigger any event that happens in the organization. So once you have the value stream and you have flow and you initiate a pull, you want to work to perfection and continuous improvement of that value stream, of the flow, to remove hurdles and boost performance across the organization. So what is typical about IT? When you take all this common lean knowledge and you map it to the lean or to the IT organization. So a couple of things that you run into. First of all, you got the technical complexity and also the organizational complexity of an IT organization, with, to me, the most common thing that you need to take into account when you want to leverage lean in the IT organization. The thing is that the work product, the unit of work in the IT organization, is intangible. It's not like a car on a conveyor belt where you can actually see the product as it moves along through the organization to add value when it reaches the customer. But it's an intangible product. Also, the IT organization is used to very specific language that you need to understand. Same for the IT Gemba. If you want to go out to the shop floor, meet the people that execute the work, where are those shop floors? Who do you meet? And how do you effectively do a Gemba in the IT organization? But maybe even more important is that you got to truly understand IT performance if you want to apply lean in IT. And to be able to understand that IT performance, you got to thoroughly understand ITSM processes. So if you combine the two together, basically what we're saying, Lean IT is the application of lean manufacturing principles to the IT organization, combining it with the complexity and bringing it together with extensive knowledge of ITSM and IT delivery processes. At the end of the day, aimed at maximizing the value and increasing the flow through the IT department. So I want to go over some of the differences between IT service management and Lean IT, and I want to do it along 4 dimensions. So first of all, ITSM, IT service management, describes what is done in those processes. Lean IT is more focused on why should we do it, and then how do we do it. So first, with regards to processes, ITSM is focused on processes, whereas Lean IT is focused on value streams. ITSM is focused on resource efficiency, where Lean IT is focused on the efficiency of flow. process metrics in ITSM are replaced by more customer-oriented metrics in Lean IT. And as said before, IT service management with regards to processes is very much compliance and control focused, whereas in Lean IT, the approach to process is more focused on removing hurdles and solving problems in the process to optimize flow. So let's go through each of these dimensions. So first, to focus on the right processes. So if you take the entire ITIL framework, I often call it an elephant. You got to eat it in pieces. There's a lot out there. It has extreme value to the organization, but you cannot do it all at once. So where to focus your attention? So the way we look at this as Quint, if you take an outside view as an end user to the IT organization, what we learned over the last 25 years is at the end of the day, that end user only wants three things, basic things from the IT organization. The first thing is very simple. For all the IT stuff that I have today, make sure it keeps on running. Then the second thing is that if I want something new, get it to me as quickly as possible. And then the third is that the customer wants us as IT people to give them advice on how they can leverage the potential of IT for their business objectives. The tricky piece here is that if you're unable to keep the current IT stuff running properly, it takes away your license to operate. And what you'll see, and this is common in projects that we see across the globe, is that at the end of the day, you lose your license to operate and the business will no longer partner with you in delivery of new services, or they will not listen to you and go out and seek your advice as how you can help them innovate their business. So a good example here is that the business pulls out their credit card and gets the new service from the cloud. So there's a relationship between these three value streams you got to keep in mind. So with regards to efficiency, the traditional approach would say that you want to make sure that your technical people are filled up, they have a backlog with enough work to keep them busy. They're the specialists, they're the important people. At the same time, this is also why inventory is a good thing, because you don't want those technicians to be idle. And at the same time, in saying that, you also say that somebody not working, it's considered waste. With all this optimization of keeping the people busy, it actually also means that there's hardly any time to look at improvement. And what you see happening in this kind of environment, that it's a stressful environment for people to work in. There's always too much work to be handled. There's always backlogs of work that are out there. There's never an empty plate. So what is the Lean IT view on efficiency? At the end of the day, Lean is all about flow and making sure that the work is processed as quickly as possible to create that value to the business. With this said, it also means that inventories should be kept at a minimum. So Lean is very much focused on making sure you have no inventories across the organization. Somebody doing unnecessary work is considered a waste. But basically, the fact that idle time is considered a value in the sense that you can use that time to improve the process. So it's a very different view. There's room for improvement, and at the end of the day, what you'll see is when you embrace the potential of Lean IT and you start implementing Lean IT in the organization, what you'll generally see is that within half a year to 9 months out, you'll reap the benefits of Lean IT, also lowering the stress levels in the organization. So looking at the metrics, if you take the traditional ITSM metrics, there's a lot out there. And this is just a summary for incident management on the left. So there's tons of KPIs and metrics that are used. At the end of the day, if you look at Lean IT, it has a very limited view on what are truly considered key performance indicators that have value to the end user, to the customer. So the first being the lost production hours, which is the impact incidents cause on the business in loss of productivity. So it goes down to the same process of incident management, but it takes an outside-in view and says, okay, what is the impact of that incident on the productivity of the end user in the business? Time to market of changes, but also the effectiveness of changes. So again, it's process related, but an outside-in view. Lean IT is also focused on the quality of the plans that you provide. So taking an example, availability and capacity management. What is it that the IT organization is planning to ensure that the future state of the IT infrastructure supports the business needs? And very importantly, it's the number of proactive changes that the IT organization puts forward. And this is very much related to IT supporting innovation in the business, and therefore truly understanding the needs of the business. And last but certainly not least, because this is the actual starting point, look at the satisfaction of both the customer as well as the employee. So if you look at the role of the process manager in IT service management, a more traditional IT service management environment, and one that embraced Lean IT, you'll see major differences. If you take the compliance perspective as a starting point, the process manager in a traditional environment has a pretty tough job, because they are seen as the guardians of processes, and they have the job to make sure that everybody follows that process. Whereas you look at Lean IT, the entire organization understands why those ITSM processes are needed. And therefore the process manager can focus on a more facilitating role in looking into those processes and seeing, okay, where can improvements be identified and executed to improve the flow across the organization. So in a traditional ITSM organization, the focus for process manager will be fully on the process itself, whereas in a Lean IT environment, the process manager will be focused on what will create the additional value to the customer. Instead of a focus on everybody following the process in a Lean IT environment, the process manager will communicate the need for people to follow the process to ensure that we create the value to the customer. And at the end of the day, what you traditionally see is that process managers and those involved in process management and process design in the organization, in a traditional organization, they work very hard on creating that future state process description and getting people to follow that new set of rules and that new set of way of working. Whereas in a Lean IT environment, all the efforts, not only the process managers and those involved in the process design, but everybody in the organization, their focus will be on achieving results for the customer. So it has a very clear objective in mind that is focused towards the customer. So if you look at these things combined, it doesn't mean that they're separate worlds. Actually, they support each other tremendously. So we got a best practice framework with the definition and all the functions needed to make IT work, whereas Lean IT is the method to continuously improve It's focused on principles and daily improvement of the value that you create to the customer. And it's focused on flow. So you need the two combined. One cannot live without the other if you want to drive the performance improvement across the organization. So when you would consider applying lean to IT in your organization, would all your problems be solved at once? No, I'm afraid not. Applying lean, implementing lean in IT, implementing lean IT is a lot of hard work. The common pitfalls are that there's a lacking understanding of ITSM processes. So understanding the mechanics of the IT organization, it will mean that you won't be able to get the traction that you're looking for with lean IT. So understanding ITSM processes is pivotal. At the same time, also thoroughly understanding lean IT is needed to drive the organization forward. So first step would be to make sure that you educate your teams on both ITIL and lean IT, or ensure that they are educated. Although lean IT is very much a bottom-up movement where you energize and empower the workforce to seek for continuous improvement, it cannot exist without the support and guidance of management. The two need to get together, because the management will provide the objectives that the organization is after that should align to the business needs, and they will support and create the room for the teams to grow to higher performance levels. At the end of the day, another pitfall in the implementation of lean IT is that there's a lot of focus on the tools and the systems, but at the end of the day, it's all defined by the attitude and behavior in the teams in identifying hurdles and how to remove these to create better flow in the value stream. And finally, what we see happening in projects that organizations tend to give up or run a risk of giving up the moment that they see resistance or experience difficulty. So the good news is that the majority of you will already have invested in IT service management, and now you can use this investment and leverage on it with the potential of lean IT. But why do it? What is the holy grail? For us as Quint, the ultimate reason why you should embark on this endeavor of implementing lean IT in your organization is that every day, every business, if not already today, every business will become a digital business. And we as Quint believe that the digital experience is not so much created by the technology, but more about the capability of an organization to harvest those technical innovations to the benefit of the organization. So what organizations, what it means and what should be done is focus on the customer needs, embrace agility, and make sure that you stay in constant alignment to your clients' needs. To give some more additional reasoning to the elements of lean IT is focus on the delivery processes, simplify them, create value streams, focus on performance, engage your staff to the right and get them to the right attitude and behavior, and anchor those capabilities in the organizations. So how to get started? There's basically three steps or directions you can take in the when applying lean IT to service management. First step our recommendation will be is to define the goals, define KPIs, and start measuring your performance. To us, this means the identification of what in Lean is called the true north, but get those measurements to the surface, because only with those metrics out you can drive performance improvement. So once you have those metrics and measurements on the table, you can focus on visual management, meaning that those metrics find their way throughout the teams, and you put them on the wall and make it visible for the entire organization and for all the teams on what it means to work together and creating value to the customer. So where the first is focused on setting the goal and creating the true north, visual management will help you to start creating flow. And finally, implementing Kaizen and problem solving will help you to focus on the continuous improvement. So what hurdles can we identify and remove from the process to increase the flow through the organization? In doing so, we strongly recommend to keep in mind that you should always focus on time. And why is this? Because at the end of the day, in the IT organization, the primary production factor still is time. So, and this is where we as Quint say the objectives should be, we use words like burning capacity and earning capacity. Burning capacity being the time and effort spent in the organization on activities that do not add value to the customer. Earning capacity is all the activities that at the end of the day, directly or indirectly, add value to the business. So the overall objective should be to try and move hours and effort from burning capacity activities to earning capacity activities. But first, as said earlier on in the webinar, make sure that you all speak the same language with regards to Lean IT and IT service management, and that you understand, you get the principles of Lean IT. For this, the Lean IT Association created a training curriculum that starts with a Lean Foundation and has specific additional trainings for those that lead problem solving in Kaizen sessions, but also those in leadership positions and their role in Lean, as well as those that coach teams on continuous improvement as Lean IT coaches. So getting that common knowledge and education embedded in the organization will give you the precondition to move forward with the implementation of Lean. With that said, on a very quick run through on the implementation of Lean IT for the improvement of service management, I'm going to give it back to you, Alex, to see if there's any questions out there.
Yes, thanks for the presentation, Thijs. We do have a few questions here. The first one is, how can we measure the effectiveness of changes or measure customer satisfaction?
So the customer satisfaction what we typically do is that we measure in what we call barometers. It's a survey that we send out very frequently across the organization to get the input from the customer on the services that are provided. So if you look at the visual management that you use in the implementation that you use for Lean IT, that input is always on the boards. So you're in constant communication basically with your customer environment and making sure that the activities that you execute and the improvements that you execute within your Lean IT program, that you see the effect that these have for your customers. That feedback is constantly brought in into your visual management. When it's down to the changes, first of all, as mentioned, one of the value drivers that I called out during the presentation, the time to market of changes, that's one that you can actually measure with your service management tooling. Same for the effectiveness of the change, so did it cause incidents? So those are standard sources that you can use to measure. When it's down to project-related changes, it's very much about the plan and the quality of the plan that you put on the table, and the planned implementation date, and making sure that you meet that date. So that's very short. There's a lot more that we can say to it, and feel free to reach out and we can dig in deeper, but quick summary, that would be the response.
Okay. Thank you, Thijs. The next question we have here is, what is the role of ITSM tools in Lean IT?
Okay, that's a good question. Actually, we could run a separate webinar on ITSM tooling. So I want to use the room in this webinar also, that if you have an interest in doing a separate session on ITSM tooling, please let us know, and we'll put one on the agenda. But so to answer the question on a high level, first of all, I would like to say that any tool that's out there that does not support flow is basically not aligned to Lean IT. So in the configuration of IT service management tooling, the focus should be very much on making sure that the flow that you're looking for within Lean IT is also reflected in your tooling. So removing hurdles, removing complexity, and actually using IT service management tooling for what it was intended for, as workflow management, and optimizing that is of the highest importance. And then in addition, IT service management tooling can play a tremendous role in Kaizen and problem solving, and this would, for instance, lead to a process like service asset and configuration management, where you can actually leverage the data and relationships that you have stored there to the benefit of problem solving. But foremost, I would say it needs to support flow.
Okay.
Back to you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you for the answer, Thijs. And this question is, how is Lean IT Foundation training, if at all, related to ITIL?
No, I would say that there are two separate topics, and they support each other. So if you look at the ITIL foundations, it gives you an introduction into the best practice of the ITIL framework. As Quint, our approach is that for anybody working in the IT department, the organization has a benefit to have the employees trained on ITIL foundations. So you create one common language across the organization, and the same applies to Lean IT foundations. So if the organization would consider implementing Lean IT, I strongly recommend to also have every employee take a course in the Lean IT foundations. They do not cover the same topics. Lean IT foundations taps into the best practices and processes that are called out in ITIL foundations and that are described in the ITIL framework. But then the Lean IT foundations is very much focused on how to create that flow and how to improve the value creation to the customer. So they work well alongside, but they certainly, one does not replace the other.
Understood. And just for the interest of time, we have a couple thank yous coming in, but I think we're going to make that the last question. So we'll go ahead and wrap up with the last few things that we have to cover today. I'd just like to remind everyone that this is the first session of our Lean IT series that we are doing. Please come back next week. Next week, we're going to be digging deeper into those metrics that Tice covered a little bit for us today, really digging into the metrics of Lean IT and how to measure success when you implement it into your IT department. And again, the week after that, we'll be covering more on the Lean and Six Sigma and how it's been adapted for IT with Lean IT. And make sure you can register for those on our website, and we'll also include the links to register if you have not already in the follow up email that will include um, the recording of this webinar. And last off, here are all the methods to contact us if you have any questions whatsoever. I know Tice would be more than happy to discuss Lean IT with you. If you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to us directly. Follow us on social media. We're active on almost every single social media network. And I just want to thank everyone again for joining us today, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are around the world. I hope the rest of your day is fantastic. Thanks again.